Thompson blasts out of the gate. Mr. Suds, Mr. Big Bucks along the rail, and Winning Big moves up to take third. Handsome Harry, and let's have one more at the back of the field. It's Mr. Suds from the outside, leading the way into the first turn at the rail. Thompson, and Thompson is now in front. Just behind them, Mr. Big Bucks is down in a tight spot down on the inside, and Winning Big moves up to claim third. Let's have one more on the outside of Handsome Harry. 3 lengths covers the field. They move on to the backstretch, and it's Thompson leading a half length to Mr. Suds. Then Winning Big 3 deep. Let's have one more kept in the clear. Mr. Big Bucks a close-up 5th, 3 off the pace, 3/4 to Handsome Harry. They run to the 5/8 pole, and it's Mr. Suds, the new leader, putting a neck on Thompson in second. Let's have one more inching forward, 3 deep third. Winning Big drops off a bit 4th. At the rail, Mr. Big Bucks called on now, pushed along, and Handsome Harry outside of him. Let's have one more, rounds the far turn with the head in front. Mr. Suds trying to cling to him in second. 3 more, Winning Big on the outside of Thompson, Handsome Harry, and Mr. Big Bucks. They're a 1/4 mile from home. Let's have one more narrowly. At the rail, Mr. Suds refusing to yield in second. 3 lengths back to Winning Big in third. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. Let's have one more, and Mr. Suds on the inside. And let's have one more in an absolute thriller. Winning Big 3 behind in third. A 16th to go, and Mr. Suds, let's have one more, nose to nose. Here's the line. Mr. Suds turns away. Let's have one more. Winning Big 3rd, Thompson 4th. They're in the gate. And they're off. Queen's Code is very fast away from the gate. Gypsy Tears, McGregor Lake is up close today. Racing in third, now second. They're followed at the rail by Leia's Candy, who wasn't quick out of the gate, but moves all the way up now to be a joint second, with Bronco Nagurski racing between rivals. My Ransom is second to last, and Rhythm on Stage at the back. 7 lengths covers the field. Down the hill they go. And it is Queen's Code on the outside, just in front. Down at the rail, Leia's Candy matches strides. These two have sped 3 clear of McGregor Lake in third. Followed by Bronco Nagurski, 4th, has 6 lengths to make up. The gray is Gypsy Tears, 2 clear of Rhythm on Stage and My Ransom. A 1/4 mile to go, and here's McGregor Lake looming up on the outside. Queen's Code is still in front. Leia's Candy down at the rail, and in behind them, Gypsy Tears. They're a furlong from the finish, and it's Queen's Code, a narrow advantage. On the far outside, Gypsy Tears, and in between McGregor Lake, Queen's Code spurts away, has to hold off Gypsy Tears, who's flying now, and Gypsy Tears will run him down. That's 2 for Kyle Frey. Queen's Code second, Rhythm on Stage third, photo between McGregor Lake and Bronco Nagurski. Zen with a little coaxing. All set. And they're off. Very even start. She's No Angel, You're in Trouble are the first 2 out of the gate. In Theory is up and on the pace in between them. Here's Applefest in the green coming through down at the rail, followed by Queen of Naples, and Nocturne Court is at the back. In Theory and She's No Angel, the 2 grays pass the half-mile pole together. 2 lengths back, You're in Trouble between rivals. Queen of Naples on the outside and Applefest at the rail. It is a distance to Nocturne Court. who has to be 15 lengths off In Theory, who starts to shake loose. In Theory cruising along, opens up 2. She's No Angel could not keep pace. On the outside, that's Queen of Naples moving up to take second. At the rail, Applefest, Nocturne Court has come alive and is starting to roll now with 8 to make up at the top of the stretch. In Theory turns for home. 3-length lead, Queen of Naples in second, followed by Applefest, and Nocturne Court continues to finish nicely. Past the 8th pole, In Theory by 4. Queen of Naples, Nocturne Court. It's In Theory. In Theory, wrapped up, geared down, wins by 3.5, and it could have been much, much more. Second to Queen of Naples, Nocturne Court with good energy, and Applefest. We're in the gate. And they're off in the San Luis Rey, and Balladeer bounces right out on top. Quickly opens up a couple of lengths in the first furlong. Missed the Cut came away in good order, as did Planetario. Those two second and third as they run down the hill. It's Balladeer, the leader by 2 lengths. Planetario second with Missed the Cut as they go into single file now. Awfully Naughty is fourth, 6 lengths off Balladeer, and Resultant is at the back of the field. Balladeer and Victor Espinoza loose on the front end, crossing the dirt and leading by 4 lengths. Planetario is in second. Missed the Cut. Green Silks at the rail, inches forward, now moves into the second position. And then comes Awfully Naughty as they've taken much closer order. Balladeer's lead is gone. Here's Missed the Cut right to him. Balladeer, who was in front by several lengths, is now just in front, 3/4 of a length, letting it out a notch once again as Missed the Cut established himself in a clear-cut tracking position and traveling beautifully as well. Planetario is in third and Awfully Naughty just inside of him. Resultant has been at the back every step, where Balladeer takes him to the 6 furlong pole with a 2.5 length lead. Missed the Cut is in second. Planetario, Awfully Naughty side by side, 6 in front of Resultant. They swing on to the backstretch, Balladeer by 2. Antonio Fresu has Missed the Cut just behind him in second, and Planetario outside of Awfully Naughty. Resultant has gotten a little bit closer, so it's 5 lengths covering the field with a half mile to go in the San Luis Rey Stakes. Balladeer, a length and a half in front. Planetario is going to make an early move, and there he goes. Planetario takes second, Missed the Cut just inside of him. Will now have to await room as Resultant has made a sudden move from well out of it. He is hard-ridden, but third, a length and a half off them. Awfully Naughty is in striking range. 1/4 mile to go. Balladeer at the rail. Planetario ahead, back second. Missed the Cut will swing to the outside as Awfully Naughty comes through at the rail. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go, and it is Planetario who takes the lead, confronted by Missed the Cut. It's Planetario, Missed the Cut. Missed the Cut, confidently hand-ridden to the front, and Missed the Cut will win the San Luis Rey decisively by 2 lengths when the smoke clears. Planetario was second. Then it was Awfully Naughty in third, Balladeer and Resultant. The 8th race starts the golden hour, pick 4. It's time in 25 minutes. Add sneakers to the outside. In the gate. And they're off. Cowboy Mike, here's Hawker moving through at the rail to take over. Jeweled Shalala has speed. Bad Sneakers on the outside is up close too. Midnight Mammoth, 5th in the early going. Clouseau is down at the rail. They're followed by Don't Swear Dave. The favorite Yellow Brick, who hesitated at the start, is 8 lengths off the lead, 5 in front of the Big Wham. Around the clubhouse turn, and it's Hawker pressed by Jeweled Shalala. These two have pulled 4 clear of Cowboy Mike in a good spot third, and Bad Sneakers just outside of him. Clouseau on the heels of those two, followed by Don't Swear Dave, racing on the outside of Yellow Brick, who's 7 lengths off the lead, a gap of 4 to Midnight Mammoth, and then it's another gap to the big wham. Strung out group heads past the half-mile pole, with Hawker the leader by a length and a half. Cowboy Mike is eager, racing on the inside of Jeweled Shalala. Bad Sneakers is next. Yellow Brick is 4 lengths off the lead. Clouseau is just outside of him. And Don't Swear Dave in between those two. 4 back to Midnight Mammoth and the big wham. Less than 3 furlongs to travel. It's Hawker and Hector Barrios, the controlling speed. Cowboy Mike is in second now, followed by Bad Sneakers. Down at the rail comes Yellow Brick in fourth. Outside of him, Don't Swear Dave. They're a quarter of a mile from home. It's Hawker in front, Cowboy Mike. Behind them, Yellow Brick tips out and will try to run down Cowboy Mike in the final eighth of a mile. Here's Yellow Brick up to Cowboy Mike. Cowboy Mike a length. Yellow Brick in second. Cowboy Mike still has something left, and he leads a length and a half. Make it 2, and it's Cowboy Mike and Juan Hernandez to score by 2. Yellow Brick was second. Don't Swear Dave third. Midnight Mammoth came alive with good strides late, and Clouseau completes the super high 5. They're in the gate, and they're off. Start for Sparta FC, along with Sneaker vying for the lead. Run a Mile in My Shoes is up close, and Beautiful Janet moves up between rivals. Naturally Blonde is next. Another Summer is 6 lengths off the early tempo. Be a Goldfish, and at the back of the field, Quantum Energy, who had a sluggish start. Around the first turn, it's Sneaker the leader by a length and a half to Beautiful Janet in second. They're followed by Run a Mile in My Shoes, inching up a closer third. At the rails, Sparta FC is fourth with 4 to make up. Naturally Blonde in the pink is next. 4 lengths in front of Another Summer. Then it's Quantum Energy and Be a Goldfish. They're coming toward the half-mile pole, trying to run down Sneaker. Sneaker has it by 2 lengths. Run a Mile in My Shoes second. Sparta FC third. Beautiful Janet hard ridden back to fourth. Then Naturally Blonde fifth, 6 lengths off the lead. At the rail, Another Summer is trying to make some headway. Another 2 back to Quantum Energy and Be a Goldfish. Sneaker and Giovanni Franco at the quarter pole. Run a Mile in My Shoes and Juan Hernandez move to engage second. Behind them, Another Summer outside Sparta FC. Quantum Energy is coming through at the rail. They're a furlong from the finish. Run a Mile in My Shoes. Sneaker digging in, holding the lead a length. They're followed by Quantum Energy angling out for a late shot at Sneaker. Sneaker 3-length lead. Quantum Energy rallies into second. It will be Sneaker to take them all the way. Quantum Energy was second. Run a Mile in My Shoes, followed by Be a Goldfish, who came from well out of it. And then it was a photo between Another Summer and Sparta FC.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us today here at the Great Race Place. My name is Tom Quigley, VIP player concierge, also your seminar host for the next 38 minutes or so. And the gentleman sitting next to me, you think about him every day, whether you realize it or not. He is the morning line odds maker here at Sandy. He determines who the favorites are, who the long shots are, and then, of course, the betting public bets into his opinion, which is his opinion of what you're going to do. His name, Jon White. Jon, welcome to the seminar. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you, Tom. Also, Delmar.
That's right. That's right. So you've been in the racing industry 50 years, or at least 5 decades. How long have you been a morning line odds maker?
Well, I started in the 1970s at tracks in the Northwest. Also did it at LeBois Park in Idaho, Fairplex Park. So, I mean, it goes back about 50 years.
Now, August 10th is not a date where you and I are going to be able to have drinks down at Delmar or even dinner. August 10th is a very, very special day in your life. It's actually a milestone that you've achieved. Talk to us about being inducted into the Washington Racing Hall of Fame.
Well, it's a tremendous honor. Racing in the state of Washington dates back to 1933 when they legalized pari mutuel wagering. And the Hall of Fame in Washington State began in 2000. And this year they came up with a new category for the Hall of Fame, media. So they had the entire history to go back to 1933 to pick one person to go in this year.
Wow.
So it's a tremendous honor. And largely it's a tremendous honor for me as a Washington bred to go in with people like Pete Peterson, for instance. He's in there. He was a steward at Long Acres near Seattle. He was a steward, of course, here in Southern California. He's one of only 2 Eclipse Award-winning racing officials.
Wow.
Keen Dangerfield, the other. He was a mentor of mine, so it means a lot to me to go in there. Charlie Whittingham trained at Long Acres in the early part of his career, won the 1987 Long Acres Mile, the biggest race in the Northwest, with Judge Angelucci. He's in there. Now, I became very good friends with Charlie Whittingham, was with him practically every morning here for years when I was with the racing firm. So that means a lot. Gary Stevens, I mean, Russell Bays, you can go on and on. But the main reason I'm just thrilled beyond belief to go in there is because my all-time favorite horse, Turbulator, is already in there. And this is a horse, Tom, that became the most popular horse by far to ever run in the Pacific Northwest. I happened to see his first race with my father at Coeur d'Alene, which Brian Beach you had on yesterday.
Yeah.
Of course, he'd gone to Coeur d'Alene to play fair. But this horse, that race never even showed up on his official record because it wasn't recognized by the racing form at the time, and he ran 3rd. He would go on to set a world record. And let me see where that picture is. Right here. This is Turbulator breaking the 6.5 furlong world record by 2/5 of a second. Now, you can barely see the horse to his inside that he's catching at the end. That is a horse by the name of Kid Cabin, who had won a maiden race early in his career at Del Mar. He was a really good horse. He broke the world record himself that day, but he got beat. In other words, he ran fast enough to break the world record, but my favorite horse beat him. Do you know who that is on Kid Cabin finishing 2nd? Richard Wright. His son, Blaine Wright, runs a contender in today's feature at Santa Anita, the Sensational Star Stakes. Clovis, what's the name of the horse?
I don't know, but it is in the Sensational Star.
Yeah. We'll get the name.
bottom horse with Willie Mantenucci.
Yeah, because he's a newcomer to Southern California. Yeah. Clovis Connection. So Clovis Connection, trained by Blaine Wright. That's his dad there on Turbulator.
Now, Turbulator not only...
on the horse getting beat by Turbulator.
Of course. Now, Turbulator, you mentioned, is your favorite horse, and you're honored to go into the Washington Racing Hall of Fame with him. But the horse means so much to you, you actually have a personalized license plate named in honor of Turbulator.
Well, it's funny. I always wanted a personalized plate, and I'll tell you how far back that goes. When I was first working, my first day with the racing form was 1974 at Playfair. And I happened one day to see the general manager of the track's license plate, and it was personalized, and it was Tout. And I thought that was such a clever thing for a racetrack general manager to have. So I always wanted to have a personalized plate. So I tried for Seattle Slew, I tried for Secretariat, I tried for all kinds of horses, and she kept saying, no, that's taken, that's taken. And I said, okay, I'm going to try one more. And I can't believe it in California if this is taken. And I got it, and that's been my personalized license plate for well over 20 years now.
You mentioned Brian Beach being from the Pacific Northwest, the jockey agent for both Victor Espinoza and Kaz Kamura. He obviously is from the Pacific Northwest, as you are. We see you're wearing the pride colors of Gonzaga, the Bulldogs. Gonzaga. Everyone says Gonzaga.
No, they don't.
No, okay, well, the Bulldogs obviously have reached the Sweet 16.
Zags.
The Zags have reached the Sweet 16 now for, I believe,
9 straight years.
9 straight years. Hats off to Mark Few and the job he's done, because it's not a stable team. You got players coming in and out. They go turn pro. They get hurt, whatever the case might be. He is a fantastic coach.
Well, he really is. It's a fantastic program. Look, his longtime assistant is now with Arizona.
Tommy Lloyd.
They're in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
So that's stemming from that program as well.
Mr. Munson from Long Beach State, who recently got let go, also was an alumni of the Zags.
Let go only to make the tournament.
Exactly right. Exactly right. John, how do you, I know you spend a lot of time making the morning line, but just give us a glimpse behind how much time and effort you actually put into developing the morning line for a day's card. Is it minutes, hours, days, weeks? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I know you do devote a lot of time to it.
Well, it depends on how many races on the card, what kind of races you have. For instance, for these races at Santa Anita, it's about a 5, 6, 7 hour-ish type situation. But listen, you get to Del Mar in the summer, full fields, 2-year-olds that I'm watching XB, and you talk about XBTV all the time. It's a good news, bad news for me, because the good news is you have so many videos. The bad news is I sit there and take notes on all those videos. That in itself can take 2 to 3 hours for a card at Del Mar just going through the XBTV. Their opening day at Del Mar last year, I clocked it. It was 23 hours from the time I started till the time I finished.
It's a labor of love, that's for sure. And I've always graciously said that Jon White is a walking encyclopedia of racing. It's our honor to have him as our seminar guest today. He's going to walk us through today's 8-race card and tell us who he likes and why. But before we do any of that, let's toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the minimum amount of scratches on today's Sunday's card here at the Great Race Place.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the Great Race Place. The track is fast, the turf is firm, with the rail on the turf out 20 feet. Here are the early changes. In the first, scratch number 6, Jay Dutton. In the second, no scratches or jockey changes. No changes in the third, which is the start of the $1 pick 6. Fourth race, no changes. In the fifth, scratch number 2, customer list. The all-turf pick 3 on races 5, 7, and 8 begins with race 5. No scratches or jockey changes in the 6th. There are no changes in the Sensational Star Stakes, race 7. And in the 8th, start of the Golden Hour Double, no changes. Enjoy your day here at Santa Anita Park. They'll be at the gate for the opener in 59 minutes at 1 p.m. Back to Quigley's Corner we go. His special guest is Jon White.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with Jon White. He is the morning line odds maker for both Santa Anita and Del Mar. It's our pleasure to have him on set today to talk to us a little bit about what he does as well as who he likes on today's card. John, in the opening, I talked about how you've been in the racing world for the last 5 decades, but you actually were a racing fan before that. You have an original copy of the Daily Racing Form, which is from 1966, and I asked you off camera, how much was the cover price of the the Daily Racing Form that particular year? It was a whopping 50 cents. That has to be a collector's item.
Well, it is to me, because it's the first form I ever bought. It was at Long Acres.
And it's in great shape, by the way.
And July 1st was the day I bought it, the day before, because you bought the form for the next day. And I bought it without my father knowing it.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
11.
11 years old.
So we were staying with my grandparents, and after dinner, my dad went. That was what my dad loved the most, was handicapping the night before. He had a special red pencil. He just loved that, trying to solve the puzzle. And so after dinner, they cleared the table at my grandparents' house. My dad, as usual, went and got his horse. Remember, in those days, the way we used to open them, it was attached at the top, and you had to open it up, not like today.
Correct.
So he cracked open his form, and I went and got mine. And I sat down, and he goes, "Where'd you get that?"
Was he happy or was he angry?
Well, I said, "I bought it today," and he went, "Okay," and he went back to handicapping. So that's where I still have my very first form. So that was starting in 1966.
Was your dad a horse player? Was he involved?
Yes.
He was just a horse player. He wasn't part of
no,
any...
he worked at the track. He worked at Playfair and at Yakima Meadows in the money room at both tracks. So he was in the mutual department.
I gotcha.
His main job was golf course superintendent at a really beautiful golf course that I lived on, Indian Canyon Golf Course. And Brian Beach worked for KREN Channel 2. He was the sports broadcaster for that channel, and he interviewed my dad a number of times, but he became friends with my dad at Playfair and Coeur d'Alene going to the races.
The love for racing runs generationally through the White family lineage, that's for sure. John, let's take a look at today's 8 race card because, of course, you looked at it well in advance of the rest of us. We want to find out why you made certain horses morning line favorites and why. And we kick things off here in race number 1, which begins the popular 50-cent early pick 5. On the turf course, it's 1 mile is the distance for maiden special weight Calbred 3-year-olds. The rails today are at 20 feet. Scratch the 6, Jay Dutton, leaves us with a field of 7. You made number 2, Motivating Force, who is adding blinkers, the 5-2 morning line favorite from the Peter Miller barn. Tell us why you made him the favorite.
Well, there's 3 horses that could go favorite here, and that's one of the things you need to look for. In other words, he's not 5-2, and the next horse is 5 or 6-1. You got 2 3-1 shots. So that's telling you any one of those 3, in my estimation, could go favorite in this race. And right now, one of the other horses is the favorite. That is the number 1, Mystic Spirit, with an outstanding trainer in Michael McCarthy. And I'm so proud of him because I got to know him years ago here. And of course, he was a longtime assistant to Todd Pletcher. And when he came here, he was kind of down in the dumps when he went out on his own. Well, he's proven to be one of the top trainers in the country.
Fresh off a victory yesterday at Turfway Park.
Exactly.
In the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Yes, exactly right.
So, like I say, I'm so proud of him, and he's such a good guy, but he's a tremendous trainer. The reason I made the 2 the favorite here is another one of the contenders is Takes 3. And Takes 3 did something that normally would take you to favoritism in this race. He finished first last time out. Now he's in a race for maidens again because he got disqualified. So he's done something no one else in this race has done. He's finished first, but he 2 races back got beat by the horse I made the morning line favorite here, Motivating Force. So they have met at this distance on this turf course, and it was number 2 who defeated number 7 Takes 3. Not only that, last time out, Motivating Force was in against winners. Now he's back with maidens. So to me, I feel on paper he is the horse to beat.
Motivating Force takes blinkers off, as I mentioned. Does that kind of come into your handicapping equation in terms of, do you look at trainer statistics for equipment moves or distance changes? Does that factor into the morning line?
I will look at it, but it's a case-by-case difference. In other words, it depends on whether I look and I feel a horse might need blinkers on or blinkers off. In other words, if a horse has been running off, maybe the blinkers off will help relax the horse. Or if the horse needs to show more speed, you put the blinkers on. So it's certainly, listen, every tidbit of information is something I try to take into account in terms of how the people will do it. It isn't how I do it.
Correct.
It's how I'm trying to forecast what the people are going to do. That can be as difficult, if not more difficult, than trying to pick the winner.
Race number 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. It's also a split of race number 4 today, and race 2 is 6 furlongs in the main track for maiden claimers. $20,000 is the claiming tag. We've got a field of 5. Number 3, Best Car, is a first-time gelding, the morning line favorite that John made 8-5. Is number 5, Magic Account, who we haven't seen in almost a year. March 5th, 2023 was the last time we saw him. But before we get your thoughts on the race, John, I want to watch a workout for Magic Account. It's
good. I'm glad you're going to do that.
It's the most recent workout on March 13th, and it's going to be a team drill as we watch it, courtesy of xbtv.com. And Magic Account is going to be on the inside in the yellow vest. The exercise rider is wearing a yellow vest. And in my opinion, as we watch this work, just take a look at the body language of the exercise rider on board a Magic Account, again on the inside. His feet are on the dashboard. He's almost literally standing up. Now, his workmate, by the name of Unusual Win ran third recently in a maiden $20,000 claimer back on February 25th. So it's not like his workmate is any world beater, but again, take a look at the body language of the exercise rider on the inside of Board Magic account. In my opinion, this horse could have gone much, much faster. And as we continue showing the workout coming down the lane all the way to the finish line, you'll see that Unusual Win kind of sticks his head in front. But again, the exercise rider on Magic account, John, is not trying, in my opinion, whatsoever.
Well, you analyzed that very well, Tom. And the thing is, when you said could go much faster, I agree. But look at the time.
Exactly.
47 flat. Much faster, you're in 46 and change territory. Now, one workout is one thing, but you need to take into account the entire body of work and also who the trainer is and what their style of training is. I go back decades with Hector Palma. He is a seasoned veteran trainer, knows what he's doing.
Cagey.
Well, and one of the things about this particular horse is go back on his work tab. He had a 47 and change work early on. So they've been building on that, which is important when he's coming off a long layoff. In other words, there's a pretty good foundation here and he needs it, but Palma's given it to him. So to me, despite the layoff, there's a lot to like. The dam was a stakes winner. There's not much to beat in here. It's a fairly soft race. So that's why I made him the favorite, but certainly the 4, Get Him Dusty, dropping in class from a Calbred maiden special weight to open maiden claiming and owns the top buyer speed figure in the field, certainly is a contender as well. But to me, off that work tab, and I think this is a good spot for a comeback for number 5 Magic account.
I agree with you, John, simply based off that one workout without looking at the body work. It looks like he's primed and ready to go off the layoff based upon that exercise, based upon that workout video we saw courtesy of our friends at xbtv.com. Let's take a look at race number 3. And on the 8 race card, race number 3 begins the $1 pick 6 sequence today. We're back on the turf course, 6 furlongs of the distance, allows optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than. We've got a field of 6. Number 4, Adair, is also a first-time gelding. Number 6, Forgiving Spirit, is the 8-5 morning line favorite, who you made favorite. Again, before we get your thoughts on the race, I want to watch the replay that Forgiving Spirit exits. It was back on March 1st. It was 6 furlongs on the flat turf course. 2 reasons why I want to watch this work, not only to watch Forgiving Spirit, who missed winning by a head, but also the winner of this particular replay that we're going to watch was Johnny Padres. Johnny Padres runs in our feature race today, race number 7, so we'll be able to get a sneak peek of his ability in this race as well. So let's listen to Frank Miramati describe the action from the 3rd race back on March 1st here at Santa Anita.
And they're off, and Mubtada is very fast. Opens up a length in the first few jumps. Forgiving Spirit comes through now to challenge him, but Mubtada is in hand while leading. Jetifator is up close, a length and a half off the pacemakers. Then it is Lansdowne, Gregorian Chant between, and Johnny Padres at the rail. Moves up to take 4th. Forgiving Spirit has emerged with the lead at the half-mile pole. Has it by a length over Mubtada in 2nd. Then Jetivator, joined by Johnny Padres, and in between those two, Gregorian Chant, Lansdowne at the back. Around the turn, Forgiving Spirit a half length. Mubtada moves once again to engage, and Mubtada right on even terms with a 1/4 mile to go, has his gray head in front now. 2 back to Jetivator in 3rd. Down at the rail, Johnny Padres and Gregorian Chant. Top of the stretch, and Mubtada in a nice battle with Forgiving Spirit. They're head and head, neither giving an inch. Johnny Padres along the inside, gathering late momentum. Forgiving Spirit on the inside. Mubtada, and here's Johnny Padres with a big surge, getting up.
3 on the wire, John Mubtada, who finished 3rd in that blanket finish, actually came back to win on March 15th here, earning a buyer speed figure of 85, which kind of validates the 89 buyer speed figure that Forgiving Spirit earned. That was just the first return race off of June 20th, 2023 layoff, and they got a free ride because it was a waiver claim type of race. Peter Miller must have liked what he saw because now he protects the horse and runs it in the first level allowance.
See, and that's a good style of handicapping. That's something my dad was a nuts and bolts, read the form, but as far as kind of those angles like that, where a trainer is protecting the horse now and that type of thing, that was not something he focused on. Still, he picked a lot of winners. He was a very good handicapper. In fact,
let's face it, he didn't have as much information as we do as modern day handicappers. We have so many resources available to us that the old school guys didn't. It's night and day.
Well, it's a great point because I have some of his old forms. He put in a lot of the things we have here today. Like he wrote in the jockeys and he kept a stack of forms for wet tracks. They didn't have that. We did mud marks, which I assigned as a chart color myself. The last Superior mud mark, which by the way, a Superior mud mark was an X in a circle, and they were far and few between. Bayacoa was the last one I assigned as far as a mud mark, a Superior mud mark. But this race, to me, you've got Virat and Forgiving Spirit very close to separate here. Again, that's something I tried to illustrate by the morning line. 8-5, 9-5. That tells you right there. To me, it could go either way. I give the edge to Forgiving Spirit for what you said, but in addition to that, again, they had met. They met last year. Now, it wasn't recently, but yet they met. They were close at the finish, finishing third and fourth, third and fifth. But the thing about that race was Forgiving Spirit had a rough trip that day and still beat Virat. So that recent race plus the fact that he beat him earlier, to me, gives him the edge in this race. But look at the riders. And that's something, again, I have to take into account making the line, because you have Flavien Prat on Forgiving Spirit. You have Juan Hernandez on Virat. Those two guys draw play. They get bet. I have to take that into account.
Good news is they win a lot of races. Bad news is you have to devalue them simply because you know they're going to get played.
That's right.
Because they're atop the leaderboard in the jockey standings.
Absolutely.
Race number 4 begins the 50-cent late pick 5, and also is a split of race number 2. As I mentioned earlier, that means we're going 6 furlongs once again for maiden claimers. $20,000 is the claiming tag. Take note number 1, Luther Pass is a first-time gelding. Moby Town, I think the heaviest favorite you made on today's card, John, is 4-5. Tell us why you did that.
Well, Moby Town really stands out in this group based on his last 2 dirt buyer speed figures. 69, 70, either one of those would be good enough to get the jumps. And that's important, not just 1, but 2, his 2 most recent starts on the dirt. So, and figure bettors drive the betting strongly. So I have to take that into account, that a lot of the figure bettors are going to glom onto this horse in this race. You're right, I made him the heaviest favorite on the card. Plus, it's kind of a, soft race. Again, it's not exactly a strong maiden claiming race. So, I think he is definitely the one to beat. I think he's the most probable winner on today's card. Now, there's an important difference. Last week, I would have said the Chosen Vron, who I made 3-5 or 2-5 morning line favorite. He was the most probable winner on the card. And what did he do?
Won again.
For the 16th time. There's a big difference between trusting the Chosen Vron and trusting Moby Town. So if you're a chalk better or a pick 6 better, pick 5, whatever kind of better, you can trust a class horse like the Chosen Vron a lot more. In other words, it would be less surprising for me by far for this horse to get beat than the Chosen Vron. That said, Mark Glatt had a horse in that race that gave the Chosen Vron a bit of a scare at the 16th pole and ran a very good race.
He did. The Chosen Vron, the Calbred Horse of the Year, recently honored at the CTBA Awards. Hats off to Eric Kriljack and the ownership group that owns the Chosen Vron. Just a couple additional points on Moby Town in race number 4. As you notice, if you look in the racing form, he was well clear of the 3rd place horse. Also, the winner that day was a 62,500 maiden claiming dropper. So it was better than average maiden 20, in my opinion. Moby Town certainly deserves to be odds-on favorite in race number 4. Race number 5 begins the 50-cent late pick 4. It also begins the $3 all-turf pick 3. We're going 1 1/8 on the turf course. It's an allowance-optional claiming race for non-winners of 2 other than. Number 2, Customer List has been declared out of the race. 2 first-time geldings here. Zalamo number 3 and Rayquist number 5 are both first-time geldings. You made Crosby Beach first off the claim for trainer Peter Miller, the 5-2 morning line favorite, taken for 50, now running for 80. Tell us why he's the favorite in race 5.
Well, he's run well at this class level. So this isn't a horse just going up in class and at this class level for the first time. And again, this is a very sharp trainer. And again, it's Juan Hernandez. But again, there are 3 horses that could go favored here. The 1, Crosby Beach, the 4, Cathagan Peak, or the 6, Carmelita's Man. Any one of those 3 could go favored here. By the way, you in that last race, when you came back and added a couple of good tidbits, you said finished well, clear 3rd. That's another thing we didn't have in the form back in those days, those margins between horses.
We're spoiled.
See,
We're so spoiled.
And yet the percentage of winning favorites nationally remains about 33, but at this meet, it's like 46%. I mean, it's off the charts for this meet. Kevin Modesti, who is a fantastic journalist and handicapper, wrote a very good article on the high percentage of winning favorites at this meet recently in the Southern California newspapers group. So, but to me, Crosby Beach, I give him a slight edge, but I can see Kathican Peak, who is going a first off the claim, but back it in for 80,000. So, I mean, he's not like jumping up in class off the claim. And certainly Carmelita's Man is a hard hitting old pro, capable of winning this race without any question, and Flavian Pratt. If I had to do this line over again, and that's the thing, you sit there a lot of times and you go, I had to make this line 2 days ago. If I had to do it roll over right now, I would at least lower Carmelita's Man 1 notch to 3. But when you do that, I have to raise somebody else. And that's one reason I made him 7-2. I didn't even want to go up to 8, for instance, on either of those horses on the outside. I think they're live enough to be 6, not 8. So some of these grass races can be, and especially Del Mar, because it isn't 9, it's 12 at Del Mar. And you go, he can win, he can win, he can win, he can win. Oh my God.
Morning line odds making is both art and science, that's for sure. Jon White knows how to blend those two perfectly. Race number 6, we're back on the main track. 1 mile's distance for maiden special weights. 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. There are 2 3-year-olds running against older, Lake Superior and Normandy Landing, both from the Bob Baffert Barn. The morning line favorite at 9-5 is Ashcroft. Before we get your thoughts on the race, John, I want to watch a replay for Ashcroft. It's his most recent effort, going 7 furlongs. He ran back on February 24th. There's a couple of things to take note. He lost that day to Yellow Brick, who ran yesterday from the Richard Mandela Barn. Even though Yellow Brick got beat yesterday, he came back finishing second, earning a Beyer speed figure of 93. So it validates the 94 that Ashcroft earned last time out at odds of 30-1. And believe it or not, you don't see it in the racing form, but the last place finisher in that race back on February 24th, as you're about to hear, was Mongolian Altoy. All Mongolian Altoy did is come back and win yesterday's first race on the drop as well. So it might be a live race. Ashcroft certainly ran a career best last time out, earning a Beyer speed figure of 94. So rather than listen to me describe the running line, let's listen to Frank Miramati describe the action when Ashcroft broke from post position number 4 back on February 24th.
And they're off. Vegas Burner with a much better beginning today. Appreciate today on the outside, up to get the lead. Ashcroft is showing some early interest, as is Duran, and Theismann is quick. Here comes Theismann along the inside with some good debut speed to take second just behind Ashcroft. Duran between them. Appreciate today is in 4th. Yellow Brick in 5th, just 3 lengths off the lead. The favorite Vegas Burner is second to last, and Mongolian Altai trails. Ashcroft, Theismann, 1-2 past the half-mile pole. Appreciate today and Duran are next. Now Vegas Burner gets underway. He's on the outside of Yellow Brick, who's in traffic currently, a distance to Mongolian Altai. Ashcroft and Theismann still heads apart, coming toward the quarter pole. Here's Yellow Brick coming alive with a bid 3 wide in 3rd. Appreciate today. Vegas Burner has to go 5 wide and needs to do much better than that as the field turns for home. Here comes Yellow Brick on the outside, challenging Ashcroft at the 8th pole. Yellow Brick up to take the lead. Ashcroft is back to second. On the inside, Theismann, Vegas Burner belatedly. Today is the day for Yellow Brick. Yellow Brick came back strong and scores by 2.5. Ashcroft second.
John Ashcroft finished a good second there. You can see on the recap of the fractional times, 44.18 for the half mile that Ashcroft was on top of. And take a look at the gallop out here. That's Ashcroft down on the rail. That replay we just watched was a distance of 7 furlongs. Today is a flat mile going 2 turns. Based on that gallop out, it sure looks like Ashcroft is going to like the 2 turns. Blinkers come back off, which is a little concerning to me, but nevertheless, that was a rock solid effort.
It really was. And again, I say numbers drive the betting. That 94 sticks out like a sore thumb in here. Now, one thing, he's going against not 1, not 2, but 3 horses that sold for a little more than $1 million each.
Including one that we just saw, Theismann.
So, I mean, that shows you what he's got, facing him. 2 of them trained by Baffert, the other one trained by John Sheriffs, one of the greatest trainers of all time. Did I vote for the Hall of Fame? I checked his box this year, among others, to go into the Hall of Fame. John Sadler and Doug O'Neill being 2 more I checked to go in. But, this is a case of where I think Ashcroft, off that last race, really I mean, looks strong in here. Now, normally off that 94, I would have made him in a 5-horse field a much shorter price. But you're going against, as I say, 2 Bafferts and this highly regarded sheriff. So I wouldn't be so quick to do that in this spot. But I think he will be favored. I think he should win, but we'll see how it all shakes out. But you mentioned how Yellow Brick ran well yesterday. That was against Cowboy Mike, who I think is on the upsurge now. He was highly regarded early in his career, kind of was struggling. Baffert's got him going good. I made him 3-1 on the line yesterday. He went off at 2, but I'm telling you, I wasn't going to make him any higher than 3 because I smelled he was going to be live off that confidence builder he got. And let's just take one moment. We watched that replay. Let's appreciate once again what a good announcer we have here at Santa Anita and Frank Miramonte. Now, he's a good friend of mine. So, I mean, I'm not exactly, unbiased in this, but just listen to that call. When you go back, Tom, and you constantly show these replays, he is capturing it. He's a student of Trevor Denman. Trevor was the greatest at describing the action in a race, all the nuances of it. It's what set him apart. And look, Tom Durkin was one of the great announcers of all time. Dave Johnson, Harry Henson, Joe Hernandez, Cappy Capicella in the East. But Frank has worked hard. I first met him, even though he grew up in Southern California, and I was working for the Racing Forum in Southern California. He was reading my column on the back page. I didn't meet him till HRTV sent me to Louisiana Downs for the Super Derby, and he was the track announcer there, also doing publicity, and he shows up at my hotel at like 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. I said, nice to meet you, and the first thing he said is, I'm going to be the track announcer at Santa Anita someday. And I thought, yeah, okay.
The ultimate compliment I can give Frank is that with both Frank describing the action on the racetrack and Frank Miramonte, I spent a lot of time in the paddock. I can literally not watch the TV set and listen to both Frank and Trevor describe the action, and I know exactly what's happening in the race without having to watch the visual aspect of it. That is the ultimate compliment. And you're right, Frank has been a student of the game. He's perfected his craft. He's worked hard. He worked at a lot of tracks that nobody's ever heard of before, and now he's reached the pinnacle, and he deserves all the success that he's got.
And again, we can be proud for him to have the honor to go to Saratoga.
Absolutely.
I mean, so what a great thing for him to be at the great race place and Saratoga. I mean, that's fantastic.
I thought I had a good gig, but Frank certainly has a better gig than I do. Race number 7 is our feature race on the card, John. It's the Sensational Star Stakes. We're coming down the hillside turf course, 6.5 furlongs of the distance. It's for Calbreds, and it also begins the $1 Golden Hour Pick 4, linking our last 2 races here with the last 2 races at our sister track, Golden Gate. We've got a field of 7 in the morning line favorite. Lukewarm at that at 3-1 is number 3, Catalina Eddy. Tell us why you made Catalina Eddy the favorite.
Well, this was a tough. I was going to make Clovis Connection the favorite. I started there, but he's coming off a layoff. He's a win machine, and he's got the best last race buyer. He's got a lot going for him, but he's coming off a layoff, and he's never run down the hill. And Tom, how important success in the past down the hill counts. And that's the thing about Catalina Eddy. He's got a recent race, but not just a recent race, a win down that unique hillside turf course. And so that gives him the edge to me. But Coalinga Road for Carla Gaines has the credentials to win this. I made Co's second favorite on the line. And Lovesick Blues has done well down the hill. You get Juan Hernandez there. I mean, this is for a small field, to me, this is a very tough race. And I'll be interested myself. I'm always interested to see how a race is bet more than probably anybody, because I have to write down the odds afterwards and chalk up. Right now, going into today, for the Santa Anita meet, I'm at 75.2% of having the right favorite at this meet so far, 75.2%. And why is that important? Because handicappers mostly want to know ahead of time who the likely favorite is going to be, because that's who they want to try to beat.
That's why I told handicappers, think about you every day, whether they realize it or not, because you're actually setting the tone and the mood for the race. Do I string along with John? Do I try and beat the favorite? Do I agree with them? I mean, it's just a mental puzzle. That's and right. You kind of set the bar high because, as you just mentioned, 3 out of 4 times you're going to be right whenever you have the morning line favorite. Congratulations. And you deserve all the credit, just like track announcer Frank Miramonte does. We're blessed to have many talented individuals here at Santa Anita, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, behind the scenes as well. We close out the day in race number 8, which offers $5 golden hour daily double wagering. Similar concept, last race here with the last race at Golden Gate. And we close it out going 1 mile on the turf course for 3-year-old fillies, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than. A good field of 9, number 8, Elegant, first time going 2 turns on the turf course from the Bob Baffert barn, is the 3-1 morning line favorite. But I see scanning the odds, you've also got a 7-2 and a 4-1. So you think favoritism might be a little bit open.
Absolutely. One of the things you do accurately observe a lot of times, how, what the favorite is, whether it's an open race or not. In other words, a 3-1, 7-2, even 4-1, 9-2 morning line favorite tells you in most cases it is a wide open race. Del Mar, I have to make more 4-1, 9-2 favorites than any time during the year, during the summer, not the fall, but during that summer meet. And look, this is one of those situations. If you're going to get down to the nitty gritty and I got to decide between 3 or 4 horses who to make favorite, you're going to be right more often than wrong if you go with Baffert and Hernandez. Now it's a turf race, so that doesn't work as strongly because obviously Baffert is not known, as a top turf trainer. But by the same token, this filly has run well on the turf. And, she, I think, has as good a chance as anybody in here. But you've got even the one, Highlands, I think, is live. I had her at 6 and raised her to 8. And I hate that when she might get some play today. And so, that's one I'm going to be watching closely. So keep an eye on that one. She might be live in here. But the 3, is another one that has early speed. If you look at the Beyer speed figures in this race, Tom, they're pretty even up and down the board, especially if you look at their lifetime best. It's one of the things I do because that's where you can see if there's some separation. There's not much separation in this race. So, but certainly another one to look at in here that I made the third favorite is Black Pink, who you got Flavian Pratt and D'Amato on the turf, and it's Little Red Feather. Those guys get bet a lot. And there's a reason for that. Because Billy Koch and that group, they're sharp and they know what they're doing, especially opening week at Del Mar. Those guys, they point all year for that. And they are ultra live in every race. They're good people. They run a tremendous ownership group there. There's another one. Maybe if I had a do-over, I might even make the 4 the favorite here, honestly, on a do-over. So this is one of those races you gotta make the decision somewhere. And that's the thing I have to do. You can't wimp out. I got to make the decision.
The pressure is always on Jon White, that's for sure. And as I mentioned, it's our honor to have him as our morning line odds maker. A couple of things in closing before we wrap it up. First of all, keep in mind one more wager to consider today. It's the Coast to Coast Pick 5. That links races both from San Diego and our sister track in South Florida, Gulfstream Park. You can see today's sequence begins with Gulfstream Park, race number 8. Post time for that will be 1:37 p.m. Pacific time. Low 15% takeout, $1 minimum. Also, live racing resumes this coming Friday at San Diego. Post time will be 1 p.m. and there will be 8 races on this coming Friday's card. Jon, thanks so much for your time and insight. It's always a pleasure having you here on track, walking down memory lane, and give us your insight into why you make certain horses morning line favorites. We're better handicappers as a result of you being here today.
Thanks for the kind words, Tom.
Thanks to all of you for watching as well. Hope you enjoyed it. Next voice you hear will be track announcer Frank Miramati updating us when the late changes. Good luck today, everybody, and have fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. The great race place. The track is fast, turf firm, rail on the turf at 20 feet. Here are the changes, very few. In the first, scratch number 6, Jay Dutton. No scratches or jockey changes in race 2. In the third, we kick off the $1 pick 6 on this 8-race card with no changes. Fourth race is the start of the late pick 5. No changes. In the fifth, scratch number 2, customer list, race 5, take out the 2. In race 6, just the blinker note. 7th race is the Sensational Star Stakes. It's the start of the Golden Hour pick 4. And in the 8th, start of the Golden Hour double. No changes. Coast to Coast pick 5. Every Saturday and Sunday, low 15% takeout. Starts today in about an hour. Gulfstream Park's 8th race begins the sequence. Post time for our first race is in 25 minutes at 1 p.m.